you see me?
Yes,
Yeah.
hi. It's so nice. It's so nice to meet you. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you for asking me.
Right. So, how are you doing today? What time is it there right now?
Well, currently I'm actually in Bulgaria, not in Germany. So here it's 9:30 in the morning.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, in Germany it's earlier.
Yeah. In like compared to
Yeah.
Germany, like Mumbai Standard Time, Indian Standard Time is 3.5 hours ahead. So
Okay,
it's
so
like,
you're later.
yeah, it's 12 p.m. right now.
Yeah, okay, so time for lunch.
I usually have lunch at 2:30, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Great. So, I just wanted to basically what I've been doing. So, I'll just explain to you before we get in, and I'll tell you a bit about myself, and then, we can start from there. So, I'm a law student in India, and I have a keen interest in, the blockchain and crypto world. And I'm sort of trying to, do an interview series where through our blog, blockchain, we are trying to interview people and get different perspectives from people all over the world as to the developments in the space, how they've gotten into their own into this career specifically and why, and just just try to get as much information out to people. So that's a bit about myself. And yeah, so we'll start. So Maria, I would like to start off by asking you first, a brief background about yourself. What is your education like, what have you done, and yeah, just a brief about that.
Yeah, perfect. So I have a financial background. So I studied finance. In different countries. So I'm quite international. And then after my master's, I decided that actually I want to start my own company.
Okay, that's
So most of my peers were starting at big banks or consulting companies, but I decided, okay, let me try something different and maybe I'll learn more.
correct.
So what I did is I started after some market research, I decided to start a company which is basically more into the IT space. And I didn't really have any IT background, just a little bit of IT during my studies, but nothing like no coding experience or anything like that. But despite that, I decided, okay, I'm just going to try it out and let's see what happens. And I started a company that was offering usability testing. So I built a platform, of course, with developers. I built a platform where everyone could just apply to be a tester. And my clients were, let's say, banks that wanted to test their online banking or online shops that were they were looking for a specific target group. And they could pick from these testers on my platform to test their websites or their mobile applications.
Right.
So this is what we did. And I did it for 2.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, I sold to a client and decided to go to consulting.
Okay.
So I started in consulting my career in Germany because my company was back in Bulgaria, where I come from. Then I moved to Germany and started in consulting in basically in the same area that I did the company in. I was working in this testing space for the financial services industry. So I consulted many international financial services institutions, so banks, asset managers, insurance companies, during their digital transformation. So whenever they were deciding to digitalize a process, to get a new software, these are projects where I participated.
Right.
And in the past few years, I believe so 2-3 years in Germany, the topic of digital assets and tokenization has become very popular. And I personally, I decided to start investing in cryptocurrencies in 2017. So I was familiar with this space, with what is blockchain, what are cryptocurrencies. It's not very far from digital assets and tokenization. If you have this understanding of blockchain and cryptocurrencies, you can connect the dots and understand what are digital assets. So I started exploring this field of digital assets, and at the consulting company where I work, we started preparing an offering for our clients to consult them on this topic. So this is how I started to basically work in blockchain in my profession, and at the same time I was investing, and I'm still investing in cryptocurrencies.
Right, right. That I really love to hear that because, actually I came across you through Mr. Ali Reza. So I had spoken to
Yeah,
him, and he was kind enough to, like, just hop on a video call. I'd spoken to him, and then I saw your interview with him, and then I heard that, you guys worked at PwC together. So that was really
yeah,
nice, right? And Mr. Ali Reza was also working in block. I mean, he got first exposed to it in 2014, right? So that was also really fascinating to hear that. And
yeah.
like you, similarly, not that I've had any consulting experience or anything of the sort, but I got into Bitcoin in 2017. Like that was the first time
Mhm.
I was like, what is happening? Let me try to put some money into it and figure out, like, what this.
Perfect.
Yeah. So I mean that worked well. Not that I had any
Yeah.
intention of, but no, that was, yeah. You were saying.
But a lot of people they invest and they don't really know what it is, and then they hear, okay, the price is dropping and they sell. I hear a lot of these stories with Bitcoin, and I think, okay, that's a pity, because from today's perspective you think, okay, I bought it so cheap,
Yeah.
maybe the price dropped 50% after that or 70% after that, but from today's perspective it's crazy.
we
Yeah.
are we are at all-time highs right now, and there's a lot of bullishness for sure. People are predicting it to at least reach $100,000, which I don't think is unrealistic. And like you said, that's just how Bitcoin has behaved as an asset class across the years, right? So, you answered my next few questions, which was like, how did you transition into the blockchain space? And that was interesting. So what I want to ask you is, like, when you were working during your time consulting, right? So what were clients coming to you for, and what exactly did you, like, help them with? Because this is a few years ago, right? Obviously the space has evolved considerably, so there's a lot more going on now. So what were you working on back then?
So financial services institutions are very regulated. So what they want to know is, with their traditional business as is, they realize they have to do some research in the crypto space, in the digital asset space. So they typically need consulting help to research what are their opportunities within the regulatory borders. So on one hand side, they need regulatory consulting. So what are the regulations within this space, within the blockchain space? And few European countries already have very good regulations in place,
Correct.
Germany included. And you know this probably better than me as a lawyer. So this is on the one hand side. On the other hand side is what business case they should approach. So there are several things that financial services institutions can do in the blockchain space. They can, for example, issue digital assets. They can, for example, offer a trading platform for digital assets, such as an exchange, or they can also offer custody
Right.
to their clients. So banks are trying also to explore different business cases where they also need consulting help with.
Mhm. Right. That makes sense. And, like, we see now, because a lot of the narrative around cryptocurrency and Bitcoin especially is that it's decentralized, right? So you don't need an intermediary like a bank to actually be banked yourself and to hold the custody of the asset and be able to transact it yourself. So given that that's true, right? Or at least that's a common narrative, how do you see it working out, in the sense that how do you see banks now adopting it, and do you think that's beneficial? Do you think that's more harmful to the industry, and how do you see this playing out?
Yeah, as you said, they're basically, in my case, I think I see two cases here. Banks can either develop something themselves. So let's say they decide to offer custody, right? To offer, let's say, the custody for the cryptocurrencies of their clients. So they can either develop this custody solution themselves, or they can outsource it to someone. There are already companies that are licensed to do that.
Mhm.
So every bank has to evaluate this for themselves. This is the business case they have to calculate depending on their customer base, depending on their future strategy. So I do not see a tendency here. You know, I think every bank will do it differently. What I definitely think that will happen in the future is that with cryptocurrencies being even more adopted in the retail client space, banks will have to definitely shift their services in this direction. And the banks that are not doing the work right now will be at disadvantage in the future.
Right.
This is what I see. And another thing that I think is very important is to make these crypto services, let's call them crypto services or digital asset services for the clients, very user-friendly. Mm-hmm. Because if you talk to someone that is not experienced with buying a cryptocurrency, they want to be invested in it because they hear all this hype. They say, oh, I want to have a little bit of Bitcoin. I want to have a little bit of ETH. But they don't want to go through a crypto exchange because then they have to think about, okay, setting up the account and then like uploading, like adding their fiat and then buying the cryptocurrency and then where to store it. You know, like these are, you know, when you have done it once, you know, it's not very difficult, but for someone that has never done it, it is. Mm-hmm. So banks, I think their job is to remove the complicated part for their clients. So if I'm a client at some bank that offers traditional banking services and I say to the bank, look, I would like to have some Bitcoin and to store it with you. Can you do that for me? Like, can I just buy it through my online banking? You know, I think banks remove the difficulty of the whole process for the average retail client, then they would win a lot.
Right. You know, you're absolutely right, because I think banks are picking up on this queue. Like, for example, JP Morgan is now offering such services to its clients. And, you know, it's definitely the recent Bitcoin futures ETF, which was just approved, right? So that's a big, like you said, win for that community of people that want to be crypto investors, but sort of don't have the technical know-how. But it's not difficult, as we both know. It's really not that hard, but still it's good. It's a good step forward for the institutionalization and adoption of cryptocurrencies, right? And absolutely, I agree with you that banks should adapt themselves, because those that don't, like you said, will be disadvantaged. And it's really about like catching up with how things are moving and in the direction they're moving. So, you know, I want to come to the next part of this conversation, which is, in the crypto world now, there are two very hot topics, so to say, that are going on, which is DeFi and NFTs, right? And I would just want you to, like, you know, share your opinion and understanding of the same as to why do you think it's, firstly, there's so much hype around it, and what is the actual use case that most people may be missing out on understanding?
Yeah. So these two hypes are also hypes that I fell into. So the DeFi anyway, because I'm very interested in crypto investing, and DeFi offers amazing opportunities. Basically, I just would like to explain what is DeFi. DeFi is decentralized finance. So all the traditional financial services that you ask from your bank could be decentralized. So let's say if I want to deposit money in order to get some interest at the bank right now, I don't get an interest, right? And this is centralized. The bank my bank, you know, tells me what's the interest. And nowadays there's no interest. And in DeFi, I can use a blockchain in order to lend my money to someone, right, and receive interest. And this is not centralized. You know, you do not do it through a bank or through one company. Mm-hmm. And this is the beauty of it.
Correct.
And at the same time, there is a disadvantage where you are the owner of your own money and you're in control of your own money. There is no one to call and say, I forgot, I don't know, my password for my online banking. There's not such case. So that people must know that. So decentralized finance, in my opinion, has exploded because of the returns you could have from decentralized finance.
Correct. And
because banks don't offer any interest right now. This is, for me, the reason. This is why this is such a hype. But again, I would come back to the usability part,
Mhm.
I think the banks can win from the whole situation if they integrate DeFi somehow and make it more user-friendly for the average investor, for the average retail client. They can find their space in DeFi as well if they do that.
Yeah.
And when we talk about NFTs, I was for some time I was thinking, okay, what is this? What is an NFT? Why does it have a value? Why is everyone crazy about that?
Right.
And I must say, NFTs are special. I saw a picture a few days ago where it said, if you were a gamer, you understand why NFTs have value.
Right.
So with this statement, I think people that were gamers can understand NFTs better than others. And I was a gamer in my early years. So I think that's why I can understand why NFTs have values. But let me just recap why is such a hype. So NFTs are just non-fungible tokens. So there is no duplication of this asset. This is just one unique asset that you can have. And most of them, I think that the most big use case is this uniqueness where you can, let's say, have an NFT and use it as your profile picture, your avatar. People see it as a status symbol nowadays, to have like a crypto punk on your Twitter. This is like having a very expensive car. And why do you pay for an expensive car? Well, of course, because of the comfort and the speed and stuff, but also it's a status symbol.
Right.
So this is, I think, something that a reason why people buy NFTs. So with the NFT space, again, it is, in my opinion, more complicated than the crypto world, because it's not, depending on which collection you buy, it's not that liquid. It's not that liquid. So you have to be aware of it. It's not something that you can immediately sell for a price that is written somewhere, a fixed price, a spot price on the market.
Right.
But at the same time, NFTs are becoming this great sensation, this great, this great thing, because they can be used in so many things, and not only as an art, as a status symbol, but also in gaming, where you can actually make money with your NFTs, like the recent game that is so popular, Axie
Infinity,
yeah, you can buy this little creatures, and then make money with them, which is like incredible.
Right.
But this is a completely different world than what the average retail investor understands.
Absolutely.
So people, yeah.
Sorry. So I'm so sorry to cut you off, but what, I just want to reiterate a few interesting things that you said, which, just very new to me, right? Especially when you said, starting with the DeFi aspect, that banks should try to integrate DeFi because it's very antithetical, right? It's sort of against the idea of a bank, and the fact that you don't need a bank to intermediate any transfer or the taking of any loan or the paying of any interest, which you said interest rates are low, which is absolutely, or not there or low, either one of them, and they don't beat inflation. So definitely that's interesting. I would also be interested to research more into how can banks actually do that, right? Because they are definitely at a threat, because it's firstly much cheaper. You don't have your intermediary fees. You don't need anybody's permission to go and get any DeFi products and participate them. And if you stake, right? Staking is, I think, what you were referring to, when you actually stake your coins and get the interest off. So I think these are very promising use cases, but it's very interesting that you said that banks should try to find a way, because if they are able to, all well and good. I'd be very interested to see how that plays out. But yeah, and with regards to NFTs, you're right. Like, I've been in the same mind space that, okay, how is it possible that a JPEG image, it has such exponentially increasing value on its resale? And I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. Some people say that it's a bubble, like, it will burst. And there are some people saying that there are some genuine NFTs which have some underlying utility to it, and which you can actually own the rights to it, right? Because when you look at it from a legal perspective, the entire issue around NFT is, okay, you might be making a non-fungible token of the underlying image, or whatever asset you want to make an NFT out of. But then just because you've made an NFT, does that mean that you own the underlying rights to it? Can you transfer the rights to another person? And how does it work? Because it's really easy to mint an NFT, right? Like, it's not that hard. You can do that, but then the implications along with that are sort of unclear. And that's where I think that, as always, law plays catch up with technology. But that's something we need to really like figure out and wrap our heads around. So, coming to the next aspect, because you said because NFTs and tokenization, right? The two sides, I would say, of the same coin, because you're tokenizing. So my next question to you would be, what is tokenization? How would it differ from NFTs? And what are the use cases or have worked with, or are aware of with regards to tokenization? And why do you think it holds potential if it does?
Sorry, the last one was what?
Like, why do you think tokenization holds potential if you think it does?
Okay. So tokenization is the act to digitize, let's say, and put on a blockchain an asset.
Right.
So you say correctly, what's the difference to NFTs? Well, NFTs are non-fungible. They're unique.
Good.
And tokenization you can apply to things that are also fungible, such as shares, company shares.
Mm-hmm.
And in tokenization, in my opinion, the two biggest use cases are the tokenization of shares, of company shares, and the tokenization of real estate.
Right.
Because tokenization makes possible that, again, when we talk about the average investor, that the average investor invests in things that are incredible and he cannot afford otherwise. Mm-hmm. So let's say I want to buy a skyscraper. It's not possible for me to buy a skyscraper. I don't have hundreds of millions of euros or dollars. I don't have them. But if this skyscraper gets tokenized, basically broken down in tokens that are worth, I don't know, 1,000 euros or 500 euros per token, then I can buy one. And depending on the type of token that is issued, they have different properties. Let's say if I buy a token, I can either just be the owner of this portion of the property, mm-hmm. or I can also have the rights of income from this property. So let's say the whole skyscraper is not is rented. So someone gets the rent, and with my little part of it, let's say I own 1% of it, then I am entitled to 1% of this rent. And this is the beauty of tokenization, that you do not need large investors anymore. You make things affordable for the small investor. And this is how you make this asset that is being tokenized more liquid, because the more investors you have, the more liquidity you have in the market, you can trade it.
Right. I think that's extremely promising, because you're taking a entire sector like real estate, which has for eons been illiquid, right? Like, if you have money, great, you can partake in real estate. If you don't, it's, like you said, very hard for the average investor to get exposure to real estate they would otherwise want to have exposure to, right? Like now, like you're saying, there's this really maybe expensive building coming up in, let's say, Berlin. And obviously in my right mind, I would never be able to afford that otherwise. But now, as a individual retail investor, it's sort of like, the analogy would be like, if I'm buying shares, I get dividends from those shares. But here I'm getting the rental income coming straight to me, and I own a part of the project itself, which will appreciate in value as well. So I think that is a big game changer. There are a few companies I know in the space that I've heard of, such as Red Swan in the USA, who I think are managing like more than $2 billion in tokenized real estate. And it's just a trend that is yet to, like a domino effect. It's yet to just kick across the world, and once it does, it's going to be really exciting. And we're at a very early stage in all of this, even though this is all developing so fast, right? Like a lot of people are still not aware of this. So that's the reason why, I was like, let me get people that know, are there, have been there, done that, and have that conversation with them. So moving on, because this is all related to investing. I think you're quite an investor yourself, and you have content out there that is promoting, passive income, how to generate different means of passive income. So can you talk about a little bit about, why do you think investing is important? Why are you trying to, build awareness around that? And then I'll ask you the follow-up questions.
This is my favorite topic. So I will try to be short because I think I can talk for hours about that. Why I think investing is important. I think investing is so important because we have to take care of ourselves. Because, I think depending on which region you come from, which country you come from, I think Europeans have a very comfortable lifestyle where they expect when they retire to receive a very stable income, from their pension.
Right.
However, times are changing so much, due to monetary policies, due to developments in the in every country, politics and taxes and so on and so forth. I have never thought, even when I was a little girl, I never thought that I will receive a stable pension. I always thought I have to do something myself. I do not want to be dependent on a state to pay me something when I'm old. So this is one perspective, or on one hand side, why you should invest for the years, when you're not working anymore. On the other side, you have to invest in order to feel safe now. Because let's say I lose my job. So many people lost their jobs during COVID. What am I going to do then if I don't have any? And I'm not talking about savings, because savings are not worth anything nowadays because you don't have any interest. Mm-hmm. So if I don't have any investments, I have no cushion to fall on, so I need like a safety net. And for me, having the safety net means that you're more free in your decisions, also to pick where to work. You're not forced to take any job just to put food on your table. So these are the two aspects for me why investing is so important. Just feeling safe, feeling free, and right, knowing that you have enough funds for the future.
Absolutely. And a large part of that as well, right? Because you said there's so many aspects, monetary policy, and long story short, inflation around the world is extremely high. Like we have double-digit inflation in countries like Argentina, where the currency is losing value by 50% every year. And a lot of Latin America is in the same boat. And even otherwise, right? Like even in India right now, the expected inflation for 2021-22 is 5.7%. So if it means that I keep my money in a fixed deposit, I'm going to earn at the max 5.5%. So if I'm just keeping my money there, I'm losing the entire value of my money each day. So you're absolutely right. Like when you say investments, it's like, you have to do it for your own safety and family and well-being, because if you don't, then you're just not taking care of yourself. I like the way that you put it, for sure. And coming to crypto investments right now, what apart, could you just explain in simple words, what are the various ways in which you can earn passive income in crypto? And how have you gone about the same?
So there are so many ways, and I think that I still don't know everything. Mm-hmm. I'm researching every day, but just to again keep it short, if you have cryptocurrencies, they don't pay dividends. Right. If you have stocks, they typically, you can have dividend paying stocks to have some passive income. And I think with cryptocurrencies, people should know that there are so many ways to earn this dividend. I'll call it a dividend. It's not, but I'll call it a dividend. So one very simple way is to stake. staking. I have an article written on that. Maybe you can put it below the video so people can read more about it. So I don't explain exactly what it is here. So you can stake and earn some interest on your crypto. You can also lend your crypto. There are crypto lending platforms, because staking is only available for cryptocurrencies that are on the based on the proof of stake consensus mechanism. So if you have Bitcoin, let's say, you cannot stake it, but you can lend it. There are lending platforms that generate your interest. And one very, very interesting project that I recently researched and I invested in is the Helium Network. And I'm also going to write an article about that because it's so interesting. It's basically a telecommunication network, I'll call it like that. So that, all these scooters that drive around.
Yeah.
So some of them are based on the Helium network, and they send their data through the Helium network, and it's a blockchain. So you don't have a GPS that is sent from a telecommunication like company. Yeah. You have the Helium network, which is a blockchain. So all this data is transferred on the blockchain, and they call it the people's network because they don't have these antennas from that come from the ground, but you as a person can put an antenna in your home and make money with it. So you buy a device with an antenna, and you are a node in this blockchain network that provides coverage for all the devices that work on this network.
Right.
And they're not only the scooters, there are so many different things. They're like medical equipment runs on this blockchain. They're like pet trackers, to put on your pet to track it where it is. Also, delivery tracking also works on that. So there's so many use cases. So many companies that work on the Helium network. So I bought a device like this, I put it in my home, and now it's just generating passive income for me. Wow. So, there's so many ways to generate passive income that, I can talk for days about that. But and there's so many that I don't know about. Right. You just have to research,
Right. No, absolutely. That's eye-opening, really, because I never heard of this project. And to think about the fact that, really the trend is going towards having ownership of everything, whether it's like, putting your own antenna and then receiving the due income for it rather than depending on bigger players. I think that's the trend. It has its pros and cons, definitely, but it's extremely interesting to know that, like you said, this can be applied for across different problems and is a common solution, whether you're going into supply chain management and logistics, especially, I think would be a huge application for especially such a project. And the fact that, like you said, like it's decentralized, you can partake and earn passive income. I mean, it just sounds too good to be true, and maybe it is. So, that's really amazing. So I want to ask you now about your own venture. I want you to just tell us a little bit about Ledger Nation and your other venture, Smart Women. What was the thinking behind starting this? What are you trying to achieve? And, how is it going so far?
Yeah. So first, I would like to speak about Smarter Women, because this is something I started first. And this was inspired by the fact that I want to bring more women to investing, because I believe that women are somehow scared of this word and not really looking so much into it like men, if you compare it to the male population investing. So with Smarter Women, it's a project in German that I started about 2 years ago, where I post videos to educate women how to start investing. So very, very basic things, explaining what is inflation, what is compounding, how to buy a stock. I'm showing my screen, showing you how to buy a stock. What is a dividend? How does it work? What is an ETF? Things like this. And I'm so happy that I inspired already so many women to start investing. I'm very happy when they send me messages and say, I set up my account and I bought my first share. And this is so amazing. This is what I want to have. I want to have more women investing. And Ledger Nation is a project where it's actually a community of blockchain experts, people that already work in blockchain or invest in blockchain, that want to share their knowledge It was inspired by the fact that I know so many people that want to start working in blockchain and are wondering, okay, how should I educate myself? How do I find a job? And I started the series Career in Blockchain, which is part of Ledger Nation, where experts talk about their careers and how they started in blockchain and how they started their careers, how they found their careers, because everyone has different background and everyone's wondering, okay, how do I go to blockchain with my background? And these videos should show a path, how to go there, what are possible ways to go into blockchain and a career in blockchain.
Right. I think that's really amazing, honestly, because like first with respect to smarter women, obviously the joy you must be getting from knowing that you've helped even one person, it's not something you can describe in words, right? And
Yeah,
honestly, great. Like, I think even doesn't matter your age, if you get into investing, it's only for the better. And it's really nice to see you trying to do that and spread that awareness. And I'll definitely link it down below so that people can check Smarter Women out
thank
and
you.
Ledger Nation as well, because I think that's great. And especially now coming to Ledger Nation, right? It's this space is new for all of us, right? And each day it's changing for all of us. And a lot of people are trying to transition, like you said, their careers. Like so many people are leaving traditional finance to come into like the crypto world, and from all aspects, right? Like even as a lawyer, I'm as a law student, I'm interested in this world and want to find my path here. And after seeing your video with Mr. Ali Reza, I was like, wow, like, this is what lawyers are actually doing. So a short question for you would be, in brief, if you could just tell us that, for younger people, right, who are interested in this space, what are the opportunities like? And how do you think, like, people can go about sort of just doing this in whatever understanding you have?
You mean finding a career in blockchain?
Right. Like, what are the
Okay.
opportunities like so that people are aware that these are the opportunities, and like, how do you sort of tap into that?
Yeah. So first of all, I think that finding a career depends on your background, and I think the opportunities are plenty,
Mhm.
but you have to think about what you want to do with your background. So let me give you an example. Someone that is working in marketing, they might think, what does it have to do with blockchain? It has to do a lot with blockchain, because every blockchain company or blockchain network, they need marketing, because blockchain is based on a community. You do not have a successful blockchain project if you don't have a community, and for that you need marketing. So think about your background and how this background can benefit the blockchain ecosystem. And these are two steps. First, you have to educate about yourself about the blockchain ecosystem. So connect with others that are already into blockchain. This is why in Ledger Nation, every expert I interview, they're open for questions. So just write them a message and say, hey, I want to talk to you. I'm a law student and I see you're already a lawyer in blockchain. Can I ask you a few questions? They're open to do that. They're also looking for people, or just ask them, can I work with you? Can I intern with you? So this is one way. Talk to them, educate yourself what they're looking for, what are the opportunities with your background.
Mhm.
And then think about how your background can benefit this community or this company. And then you will have the answer how to get into blockchain as a career.
Correct. I think that's a great way to put it, because this applies to any background and it's a simple formula for anybody who's interested in being a part. And what I love about the blockchain and crypto community is everybody is very welcoming and open. Like you said, it's all about community building, it's all about doing it together. And so far the people that I've interacted, everyone has been quite receptive, and I really like that about the space. I think it's something that's not unique but something very attractive about it, and
Yeah.
just keeps you feeling good and motivated to do your
Yeah.
part and know you're contributing to something, but others are there with you, right? And I think that's
Yeah.
extremely nice,
Yeah.
extremely nice.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. And to end this, I like to ask, and you're actually our first guest, so this is a proud moment for us at Blockchain.
Thank
So
you.
this is something that I thought of doing with all our guests going forward, but starting with you is I just want to ask you a bunch of fun and silly questions, which I've noted down. And I'll just start, like I'll just hit you with, what's your favorite food?
Favorite food.
Yeah.
Wow.
You didn't expect that, did you?
So I'd say my favorite food is probably avocado.
Wow, that's nice. And are you a morning or a night person?
I'm a morning person.
Morning, same. I love my mornings. I like to sleep on time, wake up on time. And outside of your work, what is it that you like doing? Like, what keeps you engaged, and what do you like doing outside of work?
I really like investing. If I have some free minute, I research like projects, and yeah, I do that. And other than that, I love spending time with my family. They're like super important to me.
Of course, that's really nice. And last question: if you could meet one crypto celebrity or influencer, who would it be?
Probably Vitalik Buterin.
Oh, the OG. Yes, absolutely.
To thank you for this interview and for these great questions. We covered so many topics.
Yes. In a short time we did. Thank you so much for your time and being here present with us, your first guest. It's a very special moment for us. So thank you so much.